I never thought I'd be the kind of person to share my life online, but I can't get this story out of my head. Maybe writing it down will help me breathe again. My name is Emily, and until a few months ago, I thought I was living a dream. I was engaged to a man who made me believe in forever, Mark. He was confident, funny, and had this way of making the world sound full of endless opportunities. I used to admire that about him. Now I'm not so sure. Everything started to fall apart over something that should have been impossible to destroy, my grandmother's jewelry. She left it to me when she passed away. It wasn't just gold and diamonds. It was history, love, and every childhood memory tied into one velvet box. Mark knew how much it meant to me. He promised he'd protect it until the day we got married. But promises can be fragile things, especially when money and greed start whispering louder than love. One ordinary afternoon, I came home, and the jewelry box was gone. I thought maybe I misplaced it. I thought maybe Mark had moved it somewhere safe. I was wrong. And that was just the beginning of the worst and most eye-opening chapter of my life. Mark and I met 3 years ago at a friend's birthday party. He was the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking in. Everyone seemed to know him, or at least wanted to. He had that easy smile and a voice that made even ordinary stories sound exciting. When he talked to me, it felt like I was the only one in the world who mattered. At first, our relationship was like something out of a movie. We'd stay up late talking about dreams, owning a house near the lake, traveling to new places, building a future together. Mark always said he wanted to give me a life worth remembering. I believed him, but there were small things I ignored back then. He was always chasing something, a new business, a side hustle, an app idea. He'd win big one week and lose it all the next, but he never seemed to learn. I told myself he just wanted success badly, that his ambition was part of what made him special. When he proposed, it was perfect. A sunset at the beach, soft music, and a ring that sparkled under the fading light. I cried and said yes without hesitation. My family loved him at first, too, though my mom once whispered, "He's charming, but don't let him talk you into anything you're not ready for." I wish I'd listened. As our wedding plans began, Mark suggested we start merging finances. "It's smart to plan together," he said. I didn't think much of it. After all, we were about to be one family. I trusted him completely. If only I had noticed how easily trust can turn into blindness, and how love can hide the sharpest red flags. Mark's obsession with crypto started slowly, almost harmlessly. It began with a few YouTube videos and late-night podcasts about financial freedom and early retirement. I remember laughing when he told me that people were becoming millionaires just by buying digital coins. But the more he talked about it, the more serious he became. At first, it seemed innocent. He'd check prices during breakfast, talk about market trends, and show me colorful graphs that made no sense to me. But within weeks, crypto wasn't just a topic. It was his entire world. He stopped talking about anything else. His phone was always in his hand, and his eyes were always glued to a screen filled with flashing numbers. He joined online groups full of strangers shouting, "Buy the dip, and this coin will explode." I didn't understand their language, but Mark did. He called them smart investors, though most of them sounded reckless to me. Then came the pressure. Mark started saying things like, "We can't miss this chance. Emily, one big move and we'll be set for life." I told him to be careful, but he rolled his eyes and said, "You'll thank me when we're rich." The more I hesitated, the more frustrated he became. He said I was too scared to dream big. His charm started fading, replaced by short tempers and long silences. He began spending our savings without asking, calling it investing in our future. I remember one night waking up to the glow of his laptop. His face looked tense, desperate. He didn't notice me watching him whisper to someone online, promising he'd get more funds soon. Something in my chest tightened that night. I didn't know what he meant by more funds, but deep down I felt it, the calm before a storm I never saw coming. It happened on a quiet Thursday afternoon, the kind of day that feels too ordinary to change your life forever. I came home from work, humming to myself, and noticed something strange. The small wooden jewelry box on my dresser was missing. At first, I didn't panic. I thought maybe I had moved it while cleaning. I looked around the bedroom, checked the drawers, even the closet. Nothing. The box was gone. My heart started racing. That jewelry box wasn't just a box. It held everything my grandmother left me. Her gold bangles, a diamond brooch, a small locket with her picture inside. She used to tell me, "Take care of these, Emily. They carry our family story." I could almost hear her voice as I searched. When Mark got home, I asked him if he'd seen it. He didn't even look surprised. "Oh, that," he said casually. "I took it to get cleaned. I thought it would be nice for you to wear on the wedding day." Something in his tone fell off. My stomach turned. "You did what?" I asked, trying to stay calm. He smiled, trying to sound reassuring. "Relax, Em. I know a guy. He's giving me a good deal." I wanted to believe him. But 2 days later, while I was making dinner, I overheard him on the phone in the other room. His voice was low, urgent. "Yeah, I sold it all. Just transfer the crypto fast before the price changes." My hands went cold. The knife slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the counter. When he saw me standing there, his face drained of color. He tried to explain, said it was an investment for our future, that he'd make double and buy everything back. But all I could hear was the word sold. He sold my grandmother's jewelry, my memories, my family's history, for a digital coin he couldn't even touch. I packed a small bag that night and left for my sister's house. Mark kept calling, texting, begging me to trust him. But how could I trust someone who saw love as something to trade? A week passed before I heard from Mark again. I ignored most of his calls, but one night he wouldn't stop. His name kept flashing on my screen until I finally picked up. His voice was shaking. "Emily, it's gone," he said. At first, I didn't understand. "What do you mean gone?" "The money, the crypto, everything. My wallet was hacked." My chest tightened. He explained it in a blur, how he'd invested all the money, how the value dropped overnight, and how he clicked a link from someone promising to help him recover it. Within minutes, his entire account was wiped clean. He was crying now, his voice breaking. It was supposed to change our lives. "I just wanted to make us rich, Em. I wanted to give you everything." But all I felt was a cold, hollow anger. "You already had everything," I said quietly. "You had me and you threw it away." There was silence on the line. Then he whispered, "Please, just come home. I need you." I hung up. That night, I sat on my sister's couch staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how the person I loved could destroy something so precious. My grandmother's jewelry was gone forever, melted down, traded for numbers on a screen. The next day, Mark showed up outside my sister's apartment. His eyes were red, his hair a mess. He fell to his knees, begging for forgiveness. "I'll fix this, I swear. I'll get back somehow." I didn't believe him anymore. The man standing in front of me wasn't the one I fell in love with. He was a stranger, broken by his own greed. As he walked away, shoulders slumped, I realized something painful yet clear. The loss of my jewelry hurt, but losing the illusion of who Mark was hurt even more. That was the day I stopped waiting for him to change and started trying to rebuild what he destroyed. In the days that followed, everything felt strange, quiet but heavy. The kind of silence that sits on your chest and refuses to move. I went back to work, but my mind was somewhere else. Every time I looked at my hands, I remembered the bracelets that used to sparkle on my wrists. Now, they existed only in my memories. Mark kept trying to reach me. He sent long messages about regret and second chances, promising he'd fix everything. I didn't reply. I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. The man who once made me feel safe had turned into a reminder of everything I'd lost. I decided to report the theft, even though I knew the chances of getting anything back were low. The police took my statement, but they said the jewelry had likely been melted down or resold. Their words felt like a final goodbye to my grandmother. Mark's life started to crumble too. I heard from mutual friends that he lost his job after using company funds to invest in crypto. The same charm that once drew people to him now pushed them away. No one wanted to be near him when everything fell apart. I started therapy a few weeks later. My therapist told me betrayal doesn't just break trust. It breaks the way you see yourself. I realized she was right. I had spent so much time blaming myself for not stopping him, for not seeing the signs. But slowly, I began to understand that loving someone doesn't mean saving them from their own mistakes. One evening, I visited my grandmother's grave. I placed a small white flower beside her name and whispered, "I'm sorry, Grandma. I couldn't protect what you left me, but I'll protect myself now." As I stood there, the wind brushed my face, gentle and warm, like forgiveness. It didn't erase the pain, but for the first time in months, I felt peace, the kind that comes when you finally let go of what's already gone. Months passed, and life slowly began to feel normal again. I had moved into a new apartment, started a small project at work, and found comfort in the routines I had once taken for granted. The pain of betrayal had dulled, replaced by a quiet determination to protect myself and my future. Then, one unexpected afternoon, I got a call from a pawn shop. My heart skipped a beat. They said one piece from my grandmother's collection, a delicate gold locket, had been left behind and was still in storage. I couldn't believe it. Could this really be true? I drove there immediately, my hands trembling. When I held the lock in my hands, I felt a rush of emotions, relief, grief, and a strange sense of closure. It wasn't everything I had lost, but it was enough to remind me that some things, no matter what, cannot be taken completely away. Mark tried reaching out again after hearing about the locket. He called, texted, even showed up at my apartment once, claiming he had changed and that he was rebuilding everything. I blocked him. I didn't need to hear empty promises or see regret on his face. The locket now sits on my dresser, a symbol of resilience and hope. I've learned that some people gamble with what matters most, and some losses cannot be recovered. But that doesn't mean we have to stay broken. He gambled my past for a future that never came, but I am done being anyone's investment. I am stronger, wiser, and finally free. Months after the heartbreak, I finally feel like myself again. I've started a small jewelry design business, inspired by my grandmother's collection. Every piece I create carries a story, a memory, and a lesson about resilience. I've learned to trust my instincts and protect what matters most. Friends and family have become my anchor, and for the first time in a long while, I'm excited about the future. Mark is no longer part of my life. His mistakes and greed taught me a painful lesson, but they also showed me my own strength. I am no longer defined by what was taken from me. I am defined by how I rise after loss. Holding the lock in my hand, I feel connected to my past, my grandmother, and the woman I've become. Life is a way of breaking us, but it also has a way of reminding us that we can rebuild stronger and wiser than before. I've survived betrayal. I've survived heartbreak. And now I'm finally free.